Thank you for you guys if you're waiting on the channels. Hopefully this is going out across the interwebs. Sorry about the delay. It's all Ryan's fault. No, but something happened last time too. So
it had nothing. But you know what it is? It's because we have whenever we have a video expert on, that's when, like,
it's what happens.
Everything just falls apart. So it is just
So if you're watching this, let us know where you're watching from. And also, if you would do us a favor, this is going to be a great show. Whenever we do a show about storytelling, it seems to be really, really great. And yes, Deb Mitchell, our friend Deb Mitchell, is over on LinkedIn. Thanks, Deb. Sorry about the delay. Don't know what's been going on. Let me put you down here. See, all this stuff is all janky. Let me put this right here. Deb Mitchell with the beautiful profile pics. Awesome. So thanks, Deb, for showing up. So it looks like we are live. So thank the good stars up above. So we're going to get going, and we're ready on Amazon. And so
all right.
Are you guys all ready? I'm going to go ahead and hit go on the podcast machine, and we're going to get started. Are you ready, Grace?
I need a few more minutes, Jeff.
Do you?
I think I need to go to the bathroom, Jeff.
Okay.
Sorry.
Very funny. You guys are hilarious. All right. We're going to start the show. Here we go. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Grace Duffy, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and more. Today, we have Ryan Koral on the show, and we're going to cover how to embrace storytelling in your video marketing. We're going to talk to him about what makes a good business story. Does it have to be some epic founding journey? Does it help to elevate your employees, your customers? We're going to ask Ryan right here on the show. We're also going to talk about hopefully creating workflows to streamline your video creation process. And then my question was about how to incorporate storytelling into live video. So honestly, anything can happen. As you can see from the show, anything already has, and there's a chance of losing the narrative or why we're even doing this. And so we definitely want to talk to Ryan about these things. But Ryan,
we are doing this, Grace. We're doing this because we want to, our audience, any questions you have, feel free to ask them down below. So Jim says, good morning, watching on Facebook. YouTube was still not coming up. Thanks for that, Jim. I don't know what's going on. We may have to rebroadcast again later. I just don't understand what's going on with some of these links going on. But you're here. You're here now. Jim, thank you for showing up. You're a faithful watcher. I appreciate you. But Ryan, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. This has already been the highlight of my morning.
Wow, we need to set your bar a little bit higher.
Either that or his morning has just started.
That's right. Or
he can either go uphill from here.
Yeah,
can only go uphill from here.
So if you don't know Ryan, I am so excited to introduce you to him. He is a documentary filmmaker and founder of Tell Studios, which pairs his passions for all things video with a deep desire to tell people's stories. His team creates videos with soul for their clients so they can make a greater impact in the world. He is also the co-founder of Studio Sherpas, which helps you grow your video business. He also hosts a weekly podcast, Grow Your Video Business with Ryan Koral, and I was lucky enough to be on that not too long ago. And it's for filmmakers wanting to start and grow their own video business. Ryan, once again, welcome to the show, my friend. And you took a drink right when I finished that. That's great.
I was like, oh, it's going on longer than I thought. What an epic intro. I'm super happy to be here, Jeff. It was so fun meeting you in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, this year, and definitely one of my highlights. I've admired your beard ever since I saw you, and I'm
it was a little awkward, but it's okay now. You're here with us, and we have this video screen to separate us, so nothing can be inappropriate. But something that's never inappropriate is our sponsors, Ecamm. I want to give them a big shout out. You can find out more about them at socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. They are what makes this show possible. Even with all the hiccups we had starting the show today, they made it really super easy to come on again and get it all set up. Thank you to Ecamm for sponsoring the show. We could not do it without them. But this is going to be fun because I've been wanting to have Ryan, and we've had to rebook a couple times because he's so famous. He just can't seem to get on our show. And so there's nothing going on today. So he decided to join us. But I want to give a big shout out to Jim again. He goes, he needs to do the Jeff C. documentary. That would be a very short documentary, Jim. But
no, I think that there could be a whole section about that time you were a magician.
Oh, yes. I'm still a magician, Grace. You never stop. being a
You never
magician.
stop.
Right.
You're just a retired magician. Is that what it is?
That is right. That is very true. We just fade away. So, all right, let's get started. So everybody who's watching this, to some extent, every video has a story to tell. But I want to know in the audience who starts with a story in mind before they produce their social video, because we want to know what your process is when you're making your social videos or making your videos for your business. What's your process? Do you start with the story in mind, or you're just like, I got to get something up, I'm just going to throw it up really quick and see what happens? So we would love to know what's going on, how you guys produce video. But Grace, I know you had some great questions on this first section.
Absolutely. So we're going to kick off today's show to talk about how you embrace storytelling in your video marketing. So I should mention that Jeff and I both attended conferences this past October where storytelling and video were very hot topics. Jeff was at Momentum. I was at the State of Search here in Dallas. And a popular stat that I've seen, and everyone that does video marketing rolls this one out, and it comes from Influencer Hub, and it's that 80% of people prefer video over a blog post. So I see that a lot in presentations. And yeah, and as we know, every platform is embracing video big time. Instagram, where everything is a reel, and even social media innovations begin with more video, getting it to you faster, more bite-sized, capitalize on that ever shortening attention span we all seem to have. And then this quote from Vimeo, which of course knows video very well, says that brands need stories to stand out in today's noisy marketing landscape. Don't we know that? And stories win because they elicit emotion and affect that decision-making process, which is what we all want as marketers. But we want to know on today's show, what makes for a really good story? When we know it when we see it and hear it, but we might not know how to create one. So we want to know what it takes to create compelling video marketing stories. Ryan,
That easy task right there. Come on.
No pressure here.
Yeah.
So here's
Good
what's
job.
amazing. Let me start with a story. You sent me these questions, like you guys have this show outline, which I love. It's so smart, so good. You guys are so good at doing this. I'm going through these questions, and they're all about video. They're all about storytelling. I have been doing this work for 18 years. I was working at a small college, and they bought me a video camera in a computer so I could start shooting and editing and telling the stories of the college to recruit more students. Ultimately, that was the goal. And shortly thereafter, I was like, man, how do I do this like all the time? Like, how do I shoot more video and edit? Like, I could do this till 2 a.m. and not skip a beat. Like, I was just like in love. So I've been working with businesses and brands and people for 18 years and have made hundreds, I haven't counted, but thousands of videos, and have been all over the world and have created these beautiful and powerful, emotional stories, and a lot of them that are helping brands market themselves. So I get these questions from you, and I'm like, these are really good questions. Do I have what it takes to, like, should I be on this episode? Like, people are going to find me out, and they're going to be like, who is this guy? Why are they? And then I'm like having this dialogue, this internal dialogue. I'm facing imposter syndrome, which is hilarious and frightening and, whatever, all of the things. And I'm like, no, I've got what it takes. I've been doing this forever. And I've been on, I host live shows and live events and so this is like not new territory for me. But when, and normally I go on shows and I don't get questions, right? It's like, hey, we'll talk about, this topic. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I can from the, shoot from the hip or whatever.
Right,
but
right.
I think just seeing that outline, I was like overwhelmed and just felt like I can't, I'm not the guy for this. So there's the preface. I do believe that I have what it takes, but I just want to relate that to all of us as we know the importance of video, right? We know we should be doing video. Like that almost since I started doing video 18 years ago, that has been the, next year's trends. Like video has
Right.
consistently been the thing always. Like it's in the, top 3 things. And so it's great job security for our studio. Right. as people, are like, okay, well, maybe it's finally time that we hire Ryan and their studio to, create a video for us. But just for context, knowing that a lot of us don't feel like the stories that we have aren't important or aren't moving or aren't epic or aren't beautiful or aren't finished. And so there's a hesitancy to feel like we're ready to share. It's the same exact thing that I felt this morning, a couple of days ago when you sent these questions. That is the feeling. And of course, I have things, I have opinions, I have expert knowledge that I've, been trying to educate myself in this world for the last 18 years. So how dare I try to convince myself that I don't have something to offer today? And that's my encouragement for anybody that feels like, if you're a business owner or you're in charge of marketing for the business or the brand that you're working for, and you feel like your story isn't important enough or compelling enough. It is. If you are serving people, you have a product or a service that can help people, then it's your job and it's your responsibility to get your message out there. And, unfortunately or not, like, I don't even know how you say that, the way that we buy things, if we can connect with our hearts and our soul to the brand or to the people that are trying to educate us on this thing that we think that we might need in our lives, if we can do that on an emotive level, like, we're winning. But if all we're sharing about our product or service is like, here's all the facts and the figures, try to help you make a rational decision, that's going to make the sales process a lot harder and tougher for as a buyer. Like, there's a lot of competition. There are a lot of different companies that have similar products, similar services, similar pricing. One might be really expensive, one might be whatever. But at the end of the day, like, I'm really subconsciously, I'm drawn to the brand that I resonate with, that I connect with, that I feel something with. If I can't afford it, I'm going to try to figure out one day, like, I really want to get that. So context there. I don't know if that's helpful. And Grace, I'm so sorry. I don't think I answered your question.
So
I
really,
just love that I took you through an epic journey and a shame cycle all with the first question.
And really, we don't usually send questions out to people, but we really wanted to pressure you. So that's
we send questions to everyone. We send questions to everyone. My goodness. Jeff.
So I know, but I just had to give him a hard time. Anyway, so back to Grace's question. So you gave us, why and how and the struggle, and that even if you've been doing this for 18 years, you can struggle with being on camera and sharing your expertise as an expert, because that imposter syndrome kicks in. So I think we all resonate with that story. And to be honest, you're teaching us how to do storytelling while you're telling a story, and why we can resonate with you for the rest of the episode, because this is a great, case study of this. But going back to Grace's question, like, what creates a compelling video marketing story? When you sit down for your client, and let's say it's, a local, restaurant, and they hired Ryan to do a video. Every restaurant shows their food. Like, they show what they do, how they do it. How do you make it different? How do you tell a compelling story about something as sitting down and eating? Because we see these all the time, Burger King, IHOP, all the places. How do you do that for a local business? Like, how do you get them to tell a compelling video marketing story?
Well, I think there's a couple of important types of videos that every business should have. One, it's like if I was to start a business today, there's my why behind this whole thing. Like, why do I feel like the need why does the world need this business? What's inside of me that is drawn to this? What was the moment where I realized, like, this is what I need to do? That helps people see inside of you. That helps them understand your heart and your soul, right? We say video with soul. And it's like, if you can understand, like, my why I started a video company, and why I care about people, and how I believe that their stories matter, and how I think it can help them in selling their product or service, that is going to help you connect and relate with me. Now, if I were starting a business today, I think I would rather the first story that I tell would be somebody that I've worked with and somebody that I've helped, right? Because it's like, it's one thing to go to if you're shopping for a new car, go to the car lot and have somebody try to convince you why this is the car that you need, versus somebody that you like the car that you see that they have, and you ask them questions and they're like, oh man, I love this thing, it's like, and here's why, and blah blah blah. Like, that's way more compelling to me, like, and way more believable than, like, me pulling into the lot and like,
Right.
I'm gonna get the spiel, I'm gonna get pressure, whatever. Like, so I already know this thing. So if you can tell stories, success stories of people that you've worked with, if you don't have any stories, like that is probably the best place to start, because it's not you pitching, it's not you trying to convince. Now your own story, that should be driven by passion and like why you care and why you do this. Not like, oh, well, we've served the cheapest breakfast in town and we're always open, and we've got a great wake staff. Like, that stuff is great and that's important, but so does every other, most every other restaurant. They've all got those things. But when you tell me that, your grandpa, like, or your grandma, she used to cook for the family and create these experiences, and every holiday you just had this, every emotion you feel when you walk into grandma's house and you'd smell the meal that she cooked. And like, if you can like help transport people to that place, like, oh yeah. And then you start thinking about those things when you walk into that particular restaurant, because that's their story. So I think for a customer, a client, somebody that you've worked with, I think asking questions of them, not like, hey, what was it like working with us? When you're looking for testimonials, people are so nice and kind and say like, oh, Ryan was so great to work with. His team's awesome. They, did a great video, blah, blah, blah. Those things aren't going to help me sell more videos. But if I ask my clients, hey, what was your big struggle? The big, before you came to us, like, what was the problem? Like, why did you come to a place where you said we need a video and I think we might need Ryan? This is the problem. So we take them through this journey, asking them question, what was the problem? How did we help you solve this? And what is life like now? Like, what are you able to do? Or how do you feel because we were able to help you solve this thing? And if they start talking about like, man, like, now we have the sales, this marketing video on our website, and I don't feel like I always need to be going to networking meetings and always talking about like why people should hire us. But I feel like now we have this piece that lives on our website 24/7. And I'm able to like go to bed at night feeling like, wow, I've got like sales happening or like inbound leads coming in because we have this piece. And I'm going on vacation and like, we're like getting leads and I'm booking calls. And so there's a freedom that I feel now that we have this thing.
Very, very cool. So I wanted to just do you were talking about restaurants and telling your story. And I, the one that came to my mind, one, cause I love it, is a Freddy's, which is the fast food chain that has like shakes and, yogurt. But if you go into all their places, and it started in Wichita, Kansas, and they have photos of Freddie on the wall. He was an old guy who started this like shake shop and all this stuff, but his story is told throughout the restaurant, and it's not to brag, but it's this like hometowny kind of feeling thing. And so, storytelling visually is so important. Even, even walking into the restroom, I just have been so impressed, walking into the restroom that I know Freddie's story. But anyway, Grace, you had another question. Sorry.
On that beautiful segue, Jeff, we're all familiar with the founding story trope, right? This idea of how Apple launched in a garage, how Sarah Blakely cut pantyhose to create a prototype for Spanx, or how Tinder basically launched at a frat party. Like, that was an epic launch, right? So we understand what it takes for these good, like Freddie's here following, where Jeff can find out about him in the bathroom, I guess. I don't know, but just we all have this idea that we need to start with some like epic founding journey, right? Do you feel that we need to, or how do we draw that out? Because sometimes so at a restaurant, I was just trying to think of the name of it, but I can't think of the name, and I'll probably think about it'll probably come to me after the show. But there is a health food restaurant in Boston that was founded by I think MIT grads or whatever, and their founding story is all about their journey of getting funding, right? So you're like we got this round and then that round, and it was all on their wall. But which I would know, I don't think would have been an epic journey, but that was their founding story, and it was still compelling. So how do we draw out? Like, do we need an epic founding story, Ryan?
Well, I'm glad you brought that one up of the MIT, that whole thing. What I love about Jeff is you're describing this restaurant and you see, the photos of this guy, like you see these pictures and you see the humble beginnings, and we can all relate with that, right? Because whatever we're doing, we all had some kind of a humble beginning. We had to overcome, there were things in our lives that we had to overcome. And so we all have this story. If you just, you told me about Freddy's. If my first experience is going into Freddy's and just going up to the line or counter or sitting down and getting food, eating, and then I never went to the restroom, so I never saw the things. I went home. That's my experience. But as soon as, so it's like, it's all packaged. It's done. It's like Freddy's, 5-star diner. Like, this place is epic. Okay. It's already like, there's no connection for me. The connection is like, was the food good? Was the service good? And was the price good? But as soon as you bring in elements of story of like, hey, Freddy, like, who is Freddy? Oh, yeah, Freddy was he's a humble guy. He grew up poor and but had a desire to create experiences for people and fell in love with food and his grandma, and walk into the thing, and like that, the journey is what we can relate to. As soon as you show me your polished, website, restaurant, this is, everything is perfect, come to us, like, cool. Like, I know I'm going to get that. That's great. But I can't relate to that. There's no emotive connection for me. Do I want like my food to be perfect and the service to be great? Yes, every single time. But when it comes time for me to choose, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? We make decisions based on what we're drawn to, and the things that we're drawn to are things that we can relate to. And story is the thing that, like, 4 of our 5 senses, the brain just is like, can not feel. That's the one that you can't, but you feel inside. You just do it like externally. So, but what was the question again?
So, but I want to go back to what you were just saying, because you mentioned that you're not attracted to the big polished finished product. You want the origin story. And that's why we love Marvel movies and stuff. The origin story, how Peter Parker became Spider-Man. Spoiler alert, sorry. But, sorry. But
Too late.
On that note, there's been a trend on social video to be, it used to be all these Instagram super polished, look at me, I've got all these filters on. Right. And now it's more of this gritty type of like, hey, behind the scenes, this is no makeup or, whatever. Are you finding that to be the case in the videos that you produce? I mean, are you still making polished, high production value videos for clients? Are they still asking for it? Like, have you had to change the way you package your product to bring to people?
Yeah. And that it kind of goes back to this idea of being relatable. Mm-hmm. We get hired to create these, we call them like hero videos. Right. So front page, front and center, we're going to probably recommend some kind of a hero video. About us page, probably some kind of a hero video. Elements that we're going to include in there, we want to show, like, we might have some handheld footage, like documentary style, so that it feels like, oh, this is real. Yes, the interview, like the questions that we ask, and we're able to cut around. But at the end of the day, we still want this brand to feel human and to feel relatable. So when we sit down with a CEO and they're talking at this, like, really professional corporate, like every word is perfect and maybe it's scripted and they're reading it, like, I know that that's not going to connect. It's not going to connect with me. Now, maybe their ideal audience, that's who they're targeting. So I still recommend for people to have a piece, especially when it's like their piece, like their origin story, to say, like, spend some time and money and energy in having that where you get to control the narrative. Right. Mm-hmm. But make it human and make it relatable and share your own journey. Right. Don't say like, oh, we launched this thing and we got all the funding we need and here it is. And we're helping all these people and doing all these things. It's like, no. I here's why this was important to me. And this is the struggle that I faced in trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And here I am. And now we're able to, we did this for this client. We were able to help this person over here. And so, yes, we're the majority of what we do are these high produced pieces, but we're also equipping brands with here are the tools that like take your phone and capture some stories on the inside. Having a plan for social where you're holding the camera, or we would kind of recommend getting a gimbal so that your shots don't make everybody want to throw up. But elements like, and having a microphone that's a little bit better than, your laptop microphone, so that as we're listening, it's like, man, it sounds really good, but it doesn't feel fake. It doesn't feel like they hired actors to show up and to tell the story of the brand. But man, these are the unpolished stories, or the unpolished people that make this brand feel totally real and relatable.
Very cool. I want to bring up a comment from Richard. He goes, hashtag truth. The story makes us want to fill in the blanks. We want to know more. How did it start? How does it end? Yeah. So I think that's a great point, Richard.
Can I just piggyback off of what Richard said?
Sure.
So we have we have videos that cost, easily 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 and more. Some things we've been able to do, just massive. So they go online and, it's like, okay, how many views did they get? Like, was it? Then we show behind the scenes of us like on set and, selfies with the crew, whatever, our crew or the client or whatever. It drives me crazy, but like, that's the stuff that gets the most views, the most engagement. It's the process. It's the making of. That's why, all of these shows in back in the day when people would buy DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff, and they would have like, extra bonus content. It's like the making of, and man, we are just so drawn to the process. Like, how did they do, like how it's made, like all of that stuff. It's the behind the scenes, behind the curtain that we're so interested, because we want to know what's the real story. So if your real story can have any elements of the behind the scenes, man, you're like winning twofold.
Yeah. So I was interesting because like on Disney Plus now, I know that anything that comes out, like, Obi-Wan, the show that was on there, as soon as that show's done, the season's done, they have the making of. They've done it with everything that they've come out with, and it's fast. I love to watch that stuff, but there's a reason why they're doing that. Yeah. Disney doesn't do anything unless it's going to make the money, so that's really interesting. The question I want to talk about really quick before we go to this next section, because I think it's important. What's the difference between telling your business story and an elevator pitch? Because I think all these business magazines talk about you need to have your elevator pitch. Like if you're in if you were in the elevator with Steve Jobs, you'd ask what you do, and if you don't have a good answer, he'd fire you. That kind of thing. Like, what's your elevator? What's the difference between an elevator pitch and telling your business story?
I don't think today I would say it's the same thing. But if you asked me 5 years ago, I'd be like, oh, okay, our elevator pitch is like, I've been in business for, 18 years, and we work with brands and make marketing videos, and, it costs, this much, and this is how you get started. It's like as quick as I can. Somebody a few years ago was like, hey, like, talk about like who you help, like, what's the problem that you solve? And so even framing it like, hey, how most businesses do a terrible job, telling their story, but you know how important story is and how interested we are in story. We'll spend hours and hours watching a Netflix series because it's so compelling and we're just drawn to that. Well, that's what we do. We work with brands to create a story that's compelling, that connects with their ideal audience, so that they can grow in their sales and marketing and make a bigger impact in the world. That's a lot different than talking about all of the features and the things that our video company, does. But who do we serve? What's the problem that we solve? How do we do it? Like, that's very different framing. And I'm glad that we understand that, because now we can help our clients say, like, I mean, you can talk about the features and the benefits, but like, let's really like zero in on who's your audience and like, what is their biggest problem, and how is your product or service, how can that help them overcome the struggles and the frustrations that they have in life?
That's really good. One of the things I do want to say is, like, if you want to create your story, well, we have a great tool for you to do that with live video and online with presentations. It's our friends over at Ecamm, at socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. They are actually testing, they're beta testing 4.0 right now, which is amazing. It's got multi-streaming. You can have up to 10 guests. The one I'm so excited for is isolated video, which means that I'll have a file of Ryan and Grace that doesn't have any of these overlays, and I can use it for repurposing. You know how big I am on that. So if you want to try it out, you can go to ecamm.com/beta. And I've been testing it. It's very, very cool. And they're also doing Vlogmas right now. So they're doing weekly challenges in their community and on Discord. So if you want some help and some encouragement to go live, check out their Vlogmas over on their social channels. They're doing some great stuff over there. So socialmedianewslive.com/ecamm. Thank you that they are sponsoring this show. All right, Grace.
Also a huge fan of eCam.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about video production workflows. Now, there's a lot of talk. We've just had a lot of talk here about why we should be doing the things that we're doing in our video marketing. But let's talk about the how of video production. This is something that Jeff and I have certainly been on the back end of, and you, of course, do this with your companies. But a common thing we hear from businesses of all sizes, but especially small businesses and solopreneurs, is there's only so much, right? And making videos is so time consuming, hard, awkward, whatever. Do you have any tips? Do you have any tips for streamlining any of these workflows or processes? And what do you think we should be prioritizing when it comes to video production? And I'm talking about people that have done it, that want to, it seems so overwhelming if you haven't done it or you don't do it regularly like we do.
This is back to the outline and the feeling of like, where do we begin? So the easiest thing somebody should do if they're thinking like, man, I need to be doing more video. How do I streamline the process and just make this so easy? Is just hire us. Like we'll just, we'll come in and we'll do all the things. That's the easiest thing and the most expensive. But also our recommendation is like, hire us for, strategy, for bigger picture stuff. But you need a daily or weekly or monthly plan to be pulling out your phone and shooting your own story, behind the scenes, the process, the journey of what it is that you do. So thank you for asking that. I'm teasing that, just hire us, but
no, you're not.
Okay, but tell us, but you can't say that and not tell us where we can hire you. So go on ahead. Tell us where we can find you.
Tellstudios.com. That's our website, tellstudios.com. You can see our work. You can contact us, blah, blah, blah. To take your phone and to say like, okay, today I'm going to shoot a video. I'm going to do the thing. The biggest thing is to start with the end in mind, right? I know that's like, oh yeah, of course. But seriously, when I started making videos to market what we're doing, where I was going to feature me, I would say like, okay, I'm just going to wing it. I'm good at winging it, and pick my phone up, hit record, and just do the thing. I really struggle at like landing the plane, like ending my sentences, ending a thought. So this idea of starting with the end in mind, it's like, who is this for? Who am I talking to? Who is the one person that I'm talking to? I'm not going to say, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Thanks for watching. So free yourself of feeling like you need to be a YouTuber. That's not helpful or important here. Talk to one person. Right? Just as you're speaking into the camera, think of the one person that you want to help, that you want to serve. It just makes it more relatable. It makes it more easy. So starting with the end in mind, who is that person? What is the problem that they have? So, and write this out, like have this outline so that you can refer to it and streamline the whole process every time you make a video. And, maybe like for me, when we're doing videos, 9 times out of 10, it's the same person that we're talking to. All right. And then what is the goal? Like, what do I want somebody to feel as they're watching this? Or what do I want them to learn? What do I want them to know? And then finally having some kind of a call to action, so that when I'm able to finally land the plane, it's like, where do I want them to go? Or what do I want them to do? Or how do I want them to think differently? Like what is that thing? And writing that out. So I think if you have those elements, like it just makes it so much more efficient to say like, okay, like from here, now I can say this idea that I had, it doesn't fit, or I need to like kind of, change it so that it does fit with this framework. So that's where to start. How deep into this do you want me to go, Grace? Like where pull out your iPhone 14.
We're gonna go where it goes. Right?
So like I want to just because I've been shooting a lot of Amazon videos, and to your point, having the end in mind is so important. Like having 3 points that I'm going to talk about a product, and then how I want to finish it is a lot easier than me than like turn on the camera and going, hey, this thing's really good. And by taking that time, like you were saying, is having that end in mind. Really does, even though it feels like it takes a long time at the beginning to write out like even 3 points or a script, in the long run it makes it super, super easy. So, okay, so we've got that. So what are some other tips for video workflow, Ryan, that you wanted to kind of dive in?
Well, I think, again, coming back to like if these are personal videos where you're showing up, even something as simple as writing out your opening line so that like how am I opening this, and then writing your closing line, like writing that out. So you don't need to like say it verbatim, but like something that I did when I first, because I would have such a hard time making a 30-second video versus I can talk for 10 minutes on a thing. It's like, nobody wants to hear me talk for 10 minutes. Like, make it 30 seconds, make it a minute, 2 minutes, whatever. I use an app called Prompt Smart Plus, maybe. And they make a bunch of different teleprompter apps. This one is really cool because it's voice activated. So I could like start looking into my phone, and the text is at the top, so it's near the camera, which is where you should be looking, into the camera lens, not the photo of you down here. But it puts the text up there. So I would write out these mini scripts, and I would even write in the word and in the script to make it feel like that's how I would talk. That's if I wasn't reading from a script. So that's how I really got comfortable on cameras. I would write out the scripts and record it, try to make it feel as normal as possible. And with that app, that one in particular that's voice activated, I would even like look off camera sometimes like I was thinking. I don't know if I'm giving too many secrets.
No, that's
away
great.
here. Like, this guy is not authentic at all. But I wanted it to feel, and I knew that I needed to kind of program that into, this is how it's going to feel real, as if I'm looking off thinking, and but I'm making the video as efficient as possible versus me just showing up blabbing for 5 minutes, hoping that I got 90 seconds of good content there. So that app, really, really good practice. Now, I mean, the video would probably still be too long, but I have so much more confidence today to be able to like hop on, make a quick video, not a quick video, make a video quick, and just feel like, know that I need to have some kind of a, how am I opening? What am I closing? What's the call to action? And then, usually just like you, Jeff, like having 1 to 3 things, bullets, like, here's my mini sermon or whatever it is that I'm going to do, making that like very simple. Even if it's a 1-word prompt and you're throwing a sticky note on your phone, if you're not using an app or something like that, super duper helpful for somebody like me who just likes to go on and on and on. If you haven't noticed,
no, you're great. So it's funny you said that about. I think the key thing of you just talked about was being authentic and not, because a lot of people are like, I got to get this perfect, and they do one and then like, man, this took me all day. I stink. I'm not going to do that. One of the funny things is when you said that you wrote ums in and stuff, I used to, when I did magic, I would actually, at the very beginning, screw up a trick. It'd be a comedy thing that screw it up. But that gets everybody on board with you. Like, if it happens again, it's not a big deal. But it would ingratiate myself to the audience by, oh my gosh, look what he did. Ha ha ha. And I would do it on purpose every time. And you could say that's not being authentic, but it is, because I want people to connect with the real me, not this super polished person. Yeah. So
the thing I love about that, Jeff, and when I spoke at Social Media Lima, Social Media Week Lima. Oh my gosh, I'm totally butchering.
That's all right. That's the name. Good. Social Media Week Lima.
When I spoke there, yeah, exactly. I specifically shared a story that's close to my heart at the beginning of my talk, and I hoped that I wouldn't cry. But I knew regardless, like it gets me emotional, and I knew that would help, exactly like you're saying, help the audience connect with me and feel like, oh man, like this is a real guy. He's not super polished. Not that anybody would ever think that, but I really want to go the extra mile to let people know, like, I don't have it all figured out. I'm on this journey of trying to become a better storyteller, better filmmaker, better business owner, better friend, better husband, better dad. And I screw up like plenty of times. And here's a little bit of my heart or my soul. And that's the same thing that we try to do when we're working with clients in their video. It's like, man, if we can share just like what was the biggest mess up that you did in trying to start this business, or but anything that like we can have empathy and just be like, wow, yeah. No, I've been there. I've tried to start a ton of stuff, and it always fails. It always blows up here. I feel you. You can get people to say that or feel that, man, you're winning.
I was wondering why you were chopping onions before you went on stage, and now I know. So
We have a question from Jim, our friend Jim Hughes here. He says, do you think that bullet
Jim.
points and ad-libbing work better than going word for word?
That's a good question. And I would say that when I started, well, I've done both, and I still do both. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm creating a content like course content or anything like that, I will script it out. But I've done it so many times, and I know how to pause when I'm doing this, like, for a video. I know how to pause at certain points, kind of look off, like I'm thinking, like I can really make a script feel not scripted.
right.
So that takes some practice, but like ideally for somebody like me who's just like, very verbose, that's like really helpful for everybody that's going to watch the videos. Like, Ryan, okay, instead of 800 words, can you boil this down to 150? Yep, cool. I can do that, but I got to script it out. So I think it's like, just kind of pick one and practice. You got to make 10 videos, make 20 videos, like keep making them. Your first one's going to be terrible. Your second one's going to be so bad, and don't feel bad. Go on YouTube to your favorite YouTuber. That's a funny emphasis to YouTuber, and watch their first video. Watch their second video, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so bad!" Right? I can't believe it. It's like anything. It's like exercise. Like, you don't start out super strong, and you've just got to do it and find your voice and what's comfortable, and it takes a while. And then even as you change and you mature and you're learning more just about your passion, your job, your thing, or whatever, your whole approach is going to change too. But like, if you're getting time in front of the camera and practicing that, you're just going to have a lot more confidence, going to feel a lot more comfortable and natural way into the journey. But it's totally worth it. And people need what you have. They need to know about the things that you care about. And the best way, unless you're like, sitting across the table, like in their presence, the best way is video.
Yeah, totally agree.
I have another workflow question for you, and this is just kind of out of left field here, but it is a question that we get from audience members quite a bit, and it's how do you create short form video from long form video? Now, with us on the show, we record this hour long interview or 45-minute long interview, and Jeff does a really great job of chopping it up. But then I've heard other people saying that you should create short form video independently. It needs to have its own flow. It needs to have its own everything. And especially when you are creating it for social media, and each platform has its own unique style, culture, music, what have you, right? So what is a good process for integrating both the long form content that you need and the short form content that you need for social media into your workflow?
Yeah, I mean, using a tool like Descript, which Jeff, I'm assuming you talk about on the show
a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that tool has been I used to send all of my videos that I would make for marketing our brand to my team and let them edit them. I can do it so much faster, just like plopping it into Descript and then grabbing the paragraph. So we do the podcast, the podcast that I host, it's usually 45-minute long episodes. And so for me to drop that into Descript, find a paragraph, and like, okay, that's a great reel, export that, put that in the app that I'm going to edit it and whatever. So I think, when you're creating content like that, it's a no-brainer to take, bite-sized pieces and repurpose them just like that. As far as like making things specific for short form, like, yes, if you've got the time. If you don't have like unlimited time, my recommendation to anybody is like, start a video podcast so that you've got audio, you've got video, and then from there you can create so much content. So that's where I would start. But then if you're like, man, like so much more of my time needs to be toward creating more content, then yeah, I mean, creating specific short form pieces that have very clear beginning, middle, and end, like that's better. I think an alternative is, let's say you did say something really, let's say I said something really smart.
The whole show that's the whole show.
So if like maybe there's a snippet, but there's no context, one thing I might do is create a short video of like, hey, in this video, I share, the biggest takeaway that, I ever had in running my video production business. Check it out. And then it's a cut to that so it's a setup for that. That can help make the short form that might not make a ton of sense, might help it land a little bit better with the little intro there.
Cool.
So our friend Chris Stone goes, he goes, yes, Descript is massively powerful and integral to his workflow. I mean, it's changed the way that I edit video and produce podcasts. I mean, it's one of the biggest game changers ever. So if you haven't checked out Descript, I really need to get my affiliate link up here. But if you haven't checked it out, you
just
need
go
to
to
check
mine.
it
It's
yeah, go to Ryan's. He's got it over there. But yeah, so one of the things that I do want to do a big shout out to is, and not just because they sponsor the show, but I was using them before they even did this. Ecamm lets you, if you're struggling with creating those short form video content, especially the horizontal video, you can do that inside of Ecamm. You can actually have it do the vertical video, and you can record it right inside of Ecamm and do all your stuff in there. For me, that's a lot easier than having to hold a phone and try to think of a script. I mean, all that stuff is kind of a little bit hard. And plus, I don't know about you, Ryan, but I encourage people, if they're starting to create video and they need a workflow, is to have a dedicated space to do that with. Like my computer is constantly set up. I'm not up, taking my mic down and up, and my computer, my camera up and down. It's always there. So it's super easy for me to sit down, hit go, and record.
Yeah.
Try to, kind of take away the friction that you have to creating video. I'd love to know your thoughts kind of generally on that.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize, I should talk about that, right? It seems like for me, I'm just like, well, yeah, like have it set up. But yes, oh my goodness. When I started my podcast 6 years ago at our studio, I was like, you know what, let me build this little closet out. I'll put a light up there. I'll put a camera, and it'd be really nice just to go up and start it. It was all about friction. The reason why I wasn't creating like ongoing content is because I'm like, I don't have time to set up the camera, even though we've got a studio and stuff is kind of already set up, but it's not in the way that it's just like, it's going to be way too hard and annoying and frustrating and all of the things. So to have like your light and your mic and, just your space that you can always go to, right? If you're not out and about, or you're like, you get an idea as you're driving, it's like, well, I could, well, maybe not while you're driving. I can pull over and shoot a video and do this. And this is great. Or, I wanted to have that, my studio feel. I want to have, my bullets and be able to look at my script and whatever. Yes, dude, I think that's like one of the best things because here's the thing, for most of us, we make excuses like, I don't have the time, or it's just going to take too long, or, whatever. But if you can build a little mini studio that doesn't even have to be expensive, or you don't even have to buy anything, but like have a space where you're like, this is my space and this is how I'm going to have it set up. This is the template. I have a Google Docs set up where I've built a little template. So I'm going to open up that. I'm going to copy and paste that into Prompt Smart when I'm ready to, record my script and just hit play and record. I'm going to record it. I'm going to use Riverside. I actually use Riverside a lot to record into if it's going to be something I'm going to ship off to an editor, or export directly to Descript from Riverside, which is super cool. So I'm hitting record in my web browser. It's going to Descript. I'm editing it. I'm exporting it. I'm sending it either to my team, or I'm sending it to my social media app where I'm going to add any final touches and send it. So start to finish, it's like so much faster having a dedicated space.
Right. And you don't have to like do a huge studio like Ryan's multi-million-dollar setup. You could do like just a closet somewhere, like he was saying, to get started out. The best thing to get, I would say, first of all, is a thing for your camera to stay on. Sometimes you can't. You need to double duty for your phone, but get a mic stand like that's always there, and then you can just hit a button and do your podcast or your video or whatever. So and they're not that expensive. So that's what that helped me a lot. So all right, Grace, I know you want to, and this is a super important topic before we wrap things up. Let's go to this next section. Yeah.
I want to wrap this up about live video storytelling, which of course is a topic near and dear to my heart. So we want to talk about incorporating storytelling, better storytelling, compelling storytelling into our live video, where honestly, anything can happen. Anyone that's been watching the show for any length of time knows that. Lots of things happen, and there's also a chance that you can lose the narrative, like you go off topic, or you have less control of like what's gonna happen, right? Who's gonna ask what and whatever, and then you also have no idea how things are gonna unfold. I mean, you can plan a little bit, and you can plan, but as we always say, you always plan for the worst thing to happen and have a backup plan or what have you. So let's talk about how we can incorporate better storytelling, or better incorporate storytelling into our live video strategy. How can we make our live videos more meaningful, memorable, and definitely more compelling for our brands?
That's a great question. And I told you before the show, I was like, I'm not sure. I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah,
So
let's talk about it.
just for some context, would you say like use this show as an example?
You can definitely use the show as an example.
I'd hope so.
And in an ideal world, like what do you see it actually looking like? So you want to incorporate more storytelling in a show like this, but what is that in your mind? What does that look like?
So for me, the storytelling for me, and the reason we do this show, is because I want to connect with people. Like otherwise, I'm just going to upload a YouTube video, right? Like the reason we do this show is that I can pull up comments from like Jim and talk to him. And I know Jim is an ex-Marine. What did he say? You never say ex-Marine, whatever. Retired Marine. Yes.
Just like you're a retired magician, Jeff.
That's right. So I know that because I know Jim's story. I know Chris's story that they work together and they helped me with Amazon, and Chris does a great job remote producing things, and he worked for Sony. I know Deb works for Agora Pulse. So all these people that we've had, who watch our show, and Elisa used to do a show together, and she likes Pinterest too. And so, I mean, I know all these people. They're part of the story. So my thing is because everybody comes to watch this show, we're all creating story together. They see me make a faux pas about bathrooms and Freddy's. They know that I'll say stupid things, but it's like, to me, a live show is active storytelling. So tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Who?
Ryan.
Me? Tell you
yes.
That? Oh, wow. Yeah.
You're the expert.
Now. I will tell you. I agree with that. I think, and again, maybe I'm overthinking this, but for like my podcast, I love to open with my own story, or if I have a guest, I'm, pressing them like, hey, tell me, like, what was the moment when you realized that this was like, you had to do this thing? For my audience that knows me, I want to show up and I want to just share like real life stuff. Like, here's what's happening. Like this is, I've got some big hurt in my life right now. Like there's some real struggle. Like we have some friends who have experienced some huge loss. This is a real story, like massive loss. And, to be able to share, like everything's not perfect. I mean, I look perfect.
You do. You're a very perfect man.
You do look amazing.
But for you to be able to know what's going on inside of here is very, so when people are like, oh man, this man, they got this video guy on here. He's got everything all together. He's been married almost 20 years and he's got these 3 beautiful kids and a successful business. And yeah, I mean, those things are mostly true, or I think they're all true. But also to say like, man, so what are you excited about right now? Or like, what's been one of the biggest challenges that you've overcome? And so those are things I'm thinking about, especially when I'm going solo. Like what is something that people will relate with? Right. And if all I'm doing is sharing like, everything that's going right, everything that's well, everything, it's all like, oh yeah, no, last year we went through some really hard times, but now, things are so much better. It's like, oh dude, man, you probably could have learned something when you were going through that. Well, okay, sure. Tell me what you learned now that you're on the other side of that. But, pull the curtain back and like, let us know, like, what are the guts? Because people can support you, right? Like you can get support that you didn't know that you had, or that maybe you didn't even know that you needed. So in a live show, I think just bringing like real elements of, you can bring me on, and I knew like, I'm like, I definitely want to share a story when I'm on there. But making sure that you're sharing, some kind of a person story, like not just like what's going great, but like what's not. And how are you processing that?
Well, I think going back to the very start of the show, when you talked about having imposter syndrome, even coming on this show, when you're the expert and you have like 20 years of experience of creating video, like that resonates with people. And you didn't say that just because we told you to tell a story. It's because this is how you felt. And I think that's what the beauty of live video is, that you see Grace and I bicker about things and like, here, and it's like, I know it's horrible.
It's terrible.
And then you have people like Chris coming on the show and going, he's one of our biggest supporters. He says it's the best show on the interwebs. And we do have our own Google Plus drink, because I mentioned Google Plus. I just did right there almost every week. And there's a drinking game that goes along with it, I guess. So that's the stuff that happens, and being able to tell these stories. And like I said, I just really think it's growing together. On that note, I want to talk about something that I think is coming and why live video is still really, really important. And, we've talked about Amazon before. We've had the Dealcasters on, Chris and Jim, and how live video shopping is coming. And the successful live video shoppers are the ones who are on there talking about how this has worked in their life or a hack or something, not people who are reading the product description as a script. They're the ones going, hey, look, this is my Ember mug. If I lost this today, I would go out and buy it again the next day because it keeps my coffee hot up to 2 hours. It's rechargeable, and I can set the exact temperature on it. This thing is amazing. It's down below in the carousel. That kind of thing is different than me just going, hey, this is an Ember mug. It's, and just reading the product. So I think that's really key because that's coming. So I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, it's storytelling. Even selling product is storytelling.
Yeah.
Right or wrong?
Amen.
Okay. So, all right, we are at our time. We've gone past the time. This is a perfect spot to bring up Danny's question. He goes, Ryan, can you send your workflow in an email or do you have it available somewhere?
That's a great, Danny, thanks for asking. I do have a download that I want to share with you guys. If you go to look at that, tellstudios.com/secret formula. This is probably the one of the easiest videos that you can create, FAQ videos. So go to this website, download this guide that kind of walks you through. Here is a formula for how to create very easy video with even your phone, your smartphone, so that you can help inform your ideal clients with your process, how you work, how they can work with you, different things that they need to know. And in that guide as well, I've got some links to gear, like very inexpensive gear, as well as software, and even some positioning of where, if you're going to actually invest in a $50 or $500 light, where should that light go and how should it be positioned? So if you go to tellstudios.com/secret formula, kind of learn our secret sauce to these FAQ videos, plus get some links for gear and software to your workflow easier, better, faster, smarter.
So once again, the people who are listening to the podcast, it's tellstudios.com/secret formula, tellstudios.com/secret formula. Also, Ryan, I want people to, you to tell people where they can actually go and find your podcast, because you have an awesome podcast with incredible guests like yours truly. But where can people find out more about that?
Jeff's like,
can't talk. Like one guest in particular.
One guest in particular. If you go, the show is called Grow Your Video Business, and our primary audience are corporate and commercial filmmakers that are wanting to focus more on the business of production. Like, we don't teach them how to shoot, edit, tell stories, but it's like, here's how to sell, here's how to market yourself, here's how to hire your first editor, your first employee. So there's a lot of stuff in there. If you own a business, there's a ton of relevant topics, but our ideal audience, who I'm speaking to, are filmmakers that are doing this work as a business. So go listen to the show. It's fun. And I have amazing guests like Jeff C.
So Grace, where can people find out more about the amazing Grace Duffy?
You can find me here every week with Jeff as we bicker endlessly on the show.
That's right.
She sounds so fired up.
That's right, doesn't she? She's so excited to be here. But we are excited that you are here. Thank you guys. Chris says, once again, awesome show. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. And Deb, thank you so much for bringing up all the comments. I mean, all the links today. That has been super, super helpful. We appreciate all that you do, and make sure you go. Deb, drop your link in down below for your community in Agora Pulse's community. I would love to pop that on screen as well. So, and Chris says every show needs a Grace. Yes, amazing Grace. They need her. But thank you guys so much for watching today and all that you do. We would not be able to do this show without you. Thank you to our sponsor, Ecamm. Thank you for Ryan. Grace, I will let you have the final and last word.
Our next show is next Friday, December 16th, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. And you can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course, Amazon Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
All right, guys. See you next week. Bye, everybody.